Hi, welcome to week 4. So last week actually we covered the basic uh, functionalities of Visual Basic, and we actually created some Windows Form application. We illustrated it in the lecture, and then we created it during the lab, and then you got an assignment. So you I'm assuming that you have had lot of practices, reasonable practices to create the Windows form. Now, it may be so that some of you are still uh, working on your exercise. No problem with that, but if you have problem, sooner you reach out to me, faster you will be at the same pace with the course. Mind it, this is a just remember, this is a 8 weeks course. So your expectation is much faster um, delivery of contents from me, and also much faster execution of the exercises, homeworks from your side. So we can create a like 1 day rule. If you are stuck with a problem for a day, you should reach out to me. Whatever it is, send an email. We will find some solutions together. Okay, so this chapter actually we are going to study variables and arithmetic operations. So our objectives are to create, modify and program text box object, use code to place data in the text box property of a level object, use the accept button and cancel button properties, understand and declare string and numeric variables, use assignment statements to place the data in variables. Then we will have using literals and constants in coding statements, understanding the scope rules for variables, converting strings and numerical data, that is very important. um, Understanding and using the operators, the arithmetic operators, like multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, so that those things you should be you should know about formatting and displaying the numeric data as a string. You will see that like if you have a currency, we are converting to a currency string. How we can do, we'll see that. Create a form load event, create a concatenated string, and debug a program. So when we process the data entered by a user, what do you do? When you do that in a computer program, the first thing that you do is to see to get the data, right? So in the world of Visual Basic, when you have a form, everything is string. Remember it. So when we processing the data, we do most commonly we do some arithmetic operations, right? Like for example, you have a grocery store, you bought 5 items, and then for each of the items you got certain weight of the item, some pounds, number of pounds times price per pound. You may do that like in a produce market, you do that, right? That's the arithmetic operation. You do a multiplication, something like this. Let's say we we have 10 items, and then we multiply them together. Now arithmetic operations include what are the arithmetic operations? Those include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And those things are done on what? Those are done on numeric data. Remember, numeric data. If you have a string, you cannot do any arithmetic operation on that. Only arithmetic operation is possible on the numeric data. So when the user clicks the find cost button, let us say some average button, the program multiplies. So let's give an example, like let's say we have a um, we will show it in the lab, but basically let's say we have a form like this, which is the beach bike rentals app, and there $995 per day is the rental cost. You put 4 days, and then when you click on find cost button, then you should multiply 9.95 times 4, and then you should display total cost of bike rental as the number 9.95 times 4, whatever the multiplied number is. Okay, so that's what we want to be able to do. So when the user, let us say here, they click the clear button, then the values for the number of days and the total cost of the bike rental are cleared, so the next user can enter a value. Clicking the exit button closes the window and ends the program. So we will base our study of this particular form, but you can extend it to other forms as well. You can build your own application and apply the same logic. So in order to create the application, the developer must understand how to define a text box for data entry, how to define a label, how to convert data in a text box to data that can be used for arithmetic operations, and also how to perform arithmetic operations on data entered by a user. So as usual, we will start with this application as I showed you. So that is our requirement, right? So you can see the header is beach bike rentals. Then you have to add a label, $995 per day, that is the rental cost per day heading. Then you have number of rental days equals 4. This is the text box. This guy is the text box. Then you have total cost of bike rental level. Then you have 3 different buttons: find cost, clear button, and exit. And then you have a picture. So how do you design the user interface? So you have to have the text box objects, you have to have the label objects, and you have to have the buttons. So the text box object, what is that? Text box object allows user to enter data into a program. The user can enter a value into the text box. Example. So let us see. This is the example. So you will see it in detail in the lab, but text box, as you create an application under the toolbox, you will find text box somewhere here. See text box here. This is a .NET component, and if you drag it here, it will look like this. Now with the Visual Studio open, the desktop application created and the design tabbed page is visible. Point to the text box .NET component. That's what we did, right? I showed you. Drag the text box onto the windows, and when the upper left corner of the pointer is located where you want to place the text box object's upper left corner. That's more like alignment stuff. So basically you need to do this one. So you have to drag this text box object. Where is this text box object to here? That's what we did. And if you see the alignment, so this is the alignment we got. Bottom is aligned with the bottom. So as a result of that, you will see the text box object. Now size and position a text box object. Select the text. So you have to select the text box object, select the name property, and type the desired name. So we actually did that. So if you look at this, select the text box and go to the properties window here. So we name it some num rental days value text box, whatever name we wanted to give it. So that one we did, and also we did some other things as well. Type the maximum number of characters user normally will enter into the text box and then press the enter day. So you can use the digit 8 in this situation because it is wider than other digit. Why use a digit 8? Because it's wider. Now drag the right edge of the text box object and resize it to be slightly wider than the entry, and to horizontally align the text in the label and the text in the text box, drag the text box up until a red snap line indicates the bottoms of the text is aligned, then release the left mouse button. So this is something like that. I mean, it sounds little funny, but basically you need to do this. So that's about it. That's your text box. So yeah, that's what we did, right? Snap line. This is called the snap line. So next is the align text in the text box object. So select the text box object, properties window, scroll until the text align property is visible, right? Tap or click the text align property in the left column and then click the list arrow to the right column of the text align property. Click the center in the text align property there. So it is like this. So if I go back, so here text align, where is this? Here it is. So I should make it center. Okay, so that should be the desired alignment. Is it clear? Text align needs to be centered. So that's what it is. And then we should make sure that your text box object does not contain any data. How do you make sure about that? Go there, you can make it like that. So that way you make sure your text box does not contain any data. Nothing is there. Any question? Let me know, right? Let me know by email. Um, so when the program is executed, the user can enter the data in the text box, right? I can enter 4. Users can enter letters, numbers and other characters. A text box does not contain a scroll bar. So if a user enters more characters than the text box can display, the user must move the insertion point left or right with the arrow keys on the keyboard to view the data in the text box. So it can contain these many letters. I mean, you could create a multi-line text box as well. That is a simple object. You could bring it here, then you have to click multi-line, and that way actually it will enable multi-line capabilities. You could create a masked text box object as well, but that's a different discussion. What I want you to do is basically try yourself some masked text box object and post a video about it. I will give that assignment. So let's do the level objects. That's the simplest one. We have already done it. So we need to drag a level object onto the Windows form object to the correct location, enter the desired name for the level, change the level to the appropriate font size. So in the text property of the level object, enter the maximum number of characters that will appear in the level during the execution of the program. So what I was referring to is this one. So here total cost of the bike rental. So here we have a label object. So what I did here is that I accommodated about, I mean, I made the size so that it can contain 4 digit and like 9999.99 that that many characters. I mean, it won't happen, but I'm just putting it like that. So that's the thing I've done. It is not visible generally. It will be visible once you get some number. So that's about it. So auto size is, if you do it false, then you can make it bigger. Yeah. So that's about it. We'll show it in detail in the lab section. So then your label object should be like that. I mean, that's exactly what I did, but I used 8888.88. I was a little more aggressive in sizing the box level. So next, the buttons. I mean, you call it accept button, but it's a button basically. So after the button objects are added, tap and click a blank area in the Windows form object to select it. Scroll in the properties window until the accept button property is visible. Tap the click the accept button property name to the left column, and then tap the click the accept button property list towards the right column, and that's how you do it. So basically you can do this in this way. So let's see how it looks like. So you have a button, right? Button object. So here this is a button object, so you can see that the name is here, and then what I did is the text is there. I changed the font. I mean, I will discuss it in details in the lab, but basically this is what it is. You create a button. Here is the button object. Bring it here, and then you go from there. Okay, is it clear? So cancel button, how do you create? I mean, it's same. I mean, basically when the user presses the escape key, event handler processing will be executed for the button, but we don't have any cancel button for this particular app, you know. So I don't know. I mean, it's there. I mean, you could do tap or click a blank area in the Windows form object to select it. Um, Tap or click the cancel button property name in the left column of the properties window for the Windows form object, and then tap click the cancel button list arrow. Tap or click the desired button name in the cancel button property list. So now comes the data entry and data types. User can enter data into the program by using the text box object. That is the way user can interact with the program for this particular problem. When the user enters the data, it becomes the value stored in the text property of the object. So let's talk about the string data type. A string data type, whatever we are entering there is string basically on your screen. Let's say we have this application, right? If you run this application, you will end up with this one. Here, whatever you enter, 4, let us say, that is a string, that is a number, but to the Visual Basic, to the text box, this is the string. So we are talking about a string object here. A string data type can store any character available on the computer. So if you put apostrophe, if you put semicolon, it should be able to accept that. Data, I mean, it is an arguable thing if it is a numeric or not. If it is non-numeric, your program will throw error. That's a different discussion. But a string data type can store any character available on the keyboard of your computer. Data type for the value the user enters in a text box object, and that is stored in the text property of the text box object in string. The variable is a named location in the random access memory of your computer where the data is stored. A string variable is a named location in RAM that can store a string value. So you define a string in this way, dim. So dim is a way in Visual Basic how do you declare some identifier as a variable. So by saying dim, you are telling your compiler that I am declaring a variable. And then what is the type of the variable? You do as. This is a keyword in Visual Basic, and you write string. String is the data type. So that way you can define an identifier or variable as a string variable. Now the general format, you do it in this way, dim variable name as data type. So example, string number of days, you do string variable. Then you have integer number of days, int number of days, you use the integer variable. You do decimal, and then you create a decimal variable. So as decimal, if you do, then that is a decimal variable. Okay. So what is the assignment? So next part is the assignment. Now, so you are assigning, so str number of days is a string variable, that is very nice, but you need to put an equality operator. It's mathematics, it's not computer science even. You put an equal sign and then put some number, put something there. So whatever text you entered in the text box. So basically you are assigning the right hand side, the value indicated in the right hand side to the left hand side. So equality, this operator is called assignment operator. Okay, this is an assignment statement. You have a string variable, you have this text box object name dot text, that means the value of that value contained in the text box object, that must be string. So you are making that string, the right hand side, to be assigned to this variable string number of days. So with Visual Studio open to the code window and the insertion point located in the desired column, type dim followed by a space. Then type the name of the string variable you want to define. Press the space bar, type the word as, and then this is the detailed instruction how you type, but basically we showed everything here. Now to begin the assignment statement, type strn dot, the IntelliSense displays the only variable name that starts with the letters strn. So that's the IntelliSense thing. So basically using in IntelliSense, you can do you can identify a variable, then you put the equal sign key, then you space the space bar, and then you type the other variable, which one is being assigned the value. So you can use IntelliSense there as well. I will show you in the lab section, but those are the text description of the steps that you should be doing, and then you will see it. Finally you will see it, whatever you see in this line, string number of days, str number of days equals text number of days dot txt. So in my code, as you will also see in the lab, you can see it like this. These are all examples of assignments. These are all examples. So equal sign is the assignment of, this is called the assignment operator, and that way we assign this variable that we declared here to this value. This is the value, and this value comes from the user, because users are the one who enters value on the screen, and that value is carried into here. Okay, so then we will talk about numeric data type. A numeric data type must be used in the arithmetic operations, you know. So there can be different data types like integer, the sample value, let us say 48. It memory, it contains 4 bytes of memory. The range of values you can see from a very um, small to very large number. Then comes the decimal, let's say 3.14519. That's a memory allocation 16 bytes. Decimal values that may have up to 28 significant digits. That's a range of values. And then double, that's a sample value is 5 point or whatever number of things, number of decimals, and then you have 8 bytes memory, and then there is a range of values for this one too. So basically, you see, to e to the power, 10 to the power 308, so it's a to the power 308, so it's a large long range. So an integer data type holds a non-decimal whole number, the natural number 1 2 3 4 5, let us say, in Visual Basic. An integer variable identifies a location in RAM where the integer value is stored. So here, this is the way you define integer, right? So DIM again is a way to declare a variable in Visual Basic. You write the identifier, then you write as keyword, and then you put integer. That says that this is an integer variable. So similarly, decimal data type, you do decimal data type accurately represents large or very precise decimal numbers. This can be accurate to 28 significant digit. So you can see this is the way you define the decimal data type. Double data type can represent huge positive numbers and very small negative numbers that can include values to the right of the decimal point. So you can put it as this one. This is the example, line number 13 and 14, for example, from some program. They have screenshotted it, but it's like this. There can be other data types as well, like character, char, a single character such as question mark or M or A, B, whatever it is. The memory allocation is just 2 bytes and any single character. The Boolean is basically Boolean data type has sample value of true or false. You cannot have any other value. The memory allocation is 2 bytes and range of values is true or false. The character data type, how do you represent? It's a single keystroke such as a letter of the alphabet. So you can do like this. You can prefix a character variable name is chr. You can do like that. It's a best practice. It's not mandatory to do that. You can define characters as like this. So you could do whatever you want. Different scripts, and the Boolean's example is true or false. Remember, not small letter t, it's a capitalized T or capitalized false. So Boolean variable can be like this. So there can be miscellaneous data types like byte, whole numbers such as 7. 1 byte is the memory allocation. You can see the range of values. Date, this is one of the most important variables that we use in programming languages. So you have like sample value April 22 2014. You have memory allocation 8 bytes, range of values, dates and times. Long, it's a longer integer with longer byte. A pure integer contains only 4 bytes. A long is nothing but an integer, but it has 8 bytes. Then comes the object. It holds a reference. It's a memory address. Then short, it's a whole number. It's opposite to long. So basically 2 bytes. It's a whole number basically. And then the single, this is a data type you don't see it in many other languages. It's a number such as this one, the one you see. It's a 4 byte, is a memory allocation. So you can see the variable prefixes. You should use these prefixes for different variables. A value is called a literal when it literally is the value required by the assignment statement. So standard literal form: numeric, no fractional part is the integer. If it is large, then it's long. Numeric, fractional part is double. Enclosed within double quotes always is the string. Enclosed with number signs, that is basically a date. You put this way, you can represent date. Similarly, the short, you should put s as the end. For long, literal type character L. For decimal, you do it in this way. So we have used something in our lab, although you will see it in detail. So here, for example, so decimal, we use this D, this literal type. So then you have, for the double you use R, for character you use C. So this one we have used. Constant, what are the constants? The declaration of a constant begins with the letter const, const, not the letters dim. You must assign the value to be contained in the constant on the same line as its definition. You cannot go to the other line. You cannot attempt to change the value of the constant anywhere in the program. If you do, you will produce a compiler error. The letter C often is placed before the constant name to identify it throughout the program as a variable that cannot be changed. Other than the letter C, constant names are formed using the same rules and techniques as other variable names. The program becomes easier to read because the value is identified by the name. And if you discover that a value must be changed in the code, it is much easier and more reliable to change the value one time in the constant as opposed to changing every occurrence of the value in a literal. So that's why you use the constant. If it is not changing throughout the code, then you better use a constant. Then comes the reference variable. When a variable is declared, it will be underlined with a green squiggly line until it is referenced in a statement. When example, let's show you an example. So let's say I do it like this. dim, let's say dim int test, and it's a simple as integer. It's a placeholder. So you see, this is a local variable, and this squiggly green line, this is what I was talking about. So basically, when using a variable in a program, it is mandatory that you define the variable before using the variable name in the statement. So you need to define the variable first, and then you can define this variable. Let us say int test equals 10i. So you got an integer. So that's simple. Let's get rid of it. Okay. The scope of variables. The scope of the variable specifies where the variable can be referenced in a Visual Basic statement within the program. So you declare a variable in the region within the program. So what you do here, for example, you have a variable. This variable is declared within this particular subroutine sub, but you declare this one in the global scope within the class itself. So these are the scopes. I mean, this variable is valid within this subroutine only. If you try to use it somewhere else, you cannot use it, but you can use it everywhere because it is at the global class level variable. So that is the scope. The scope of this variable is at the class level, whereas scope of these variables are within this particular subroutine only. Okay, the code between sub statement and the end sub statement is a procedure, or you can call it subroutine, but it is officially in Visual Basic language it is called a procedure. A variable that can only be referenced within the region of the program where it is defined is called a local variable. So whatever variable here, for example, here these variables, str number of days, int number of days, dec total cost, these are the local variables defined within this procedure. A variable that can only be referenced within the region of the program where it is defined is called the local variable. Local variables have a certain lifetime in the program. Global variables can be used in multiple regions of a Visual Basic program. So here this one is a global variable, but these ones are the local variables. So how do you convert variable data? Visual Basic includes several procedures that allow you to convert one data type to another data type. A procedure to convert a string data type to an integer data type is named as toInt32. So here example, I can show you here. For example, I have done here integer number of days. I'm converting string to integer, so integer number of day I use convert. This is a this is a module class dot, this is a method toInt32. So it's a function basically. So then it will, this variable will be converted to integer in that way. The procedure is in the convert class, which is available to a Visual Studio class library. So whatever version of Visual Studio you will be using, you will get those in any way. So using a procedure that performs its tasks but does not return a value is called a sub procedure. I mean, it doesn't return a value. A procedure that returns a value. So two types of procedures are there: value returning procedure and non-value returning procedure. The procedures that does not return a value, it's a non-value returning procedure or a sub procedure. On the other hand, a procedure that returns a value is called a function. So function always returns you some value, but a procedure does not return you a value. An argument identifies a value required by a procedure. Every procedure is part of a class. So you see here example. So these are all the procedures. You can see that these are the arguments. These are the arguments. Sender and E are the arguments. But this procedure does not return anything, and also it is part of a class. So use a procedure. For example, the name of the procedure is this one. A class is convert is the class name. It has a procedure toInt32, and that's the argument. I mean, that's the way it works. So what it does basically, passed a string value for start function procedure code, whatever it is, return integer value, end the function procedure, and return numeric integer value substituted for function procedure called statement. So this is a function procedure. 2 in 32 is a function state procedure. Remember, if you have a function procedure, then you can assign it to some to a appropriate variable or identifier. In this case, this is a function procedure that returns an integer. So that's why you can assign it to an integer as shown here. Let's say in my code actually here, so int convert to int. So this is a function procedure that will return you an integer. So you see, this is the function. If you just hover your mouse button there, you will see the details of it, and it's a function, and it will return. So function is signature is like that, function and as integer. So it returns, it has a return type of integer, and then you do it. So that's the way you, so this is the, I mean, I just clicked on that, and then to, if I try to find 2 int 32, let's see, sorry, so it returns the value of that. Anyways, I mean, we are not going to scan Visual Basic source code. It's much higher, it's much deeper understanding. We are not doing that. We are doing simple things here. So I mean, I'm just showing you in case you are curious, you can explore things in that way. So that's pretty much we have covered. And this dot operator, you put a class name and then you put a dot operator that will represent that this class dot means it has this procedure 2 in 32. That's how you use the procedure. You have to use the class name, and then you have to use the procedure name. In between that, you have to use a dot operator. And another thing is that if you put a dot operator, the IntelliSense will pop up with possible available procedure name, and you can choose whatever is appropriate for your problem, to solve your problem. Okay, so option strict on, so we did it in the program. So by default, Visual Basic will automatically convert data types if one of the right side of the equal sign in an assignment statement is different from the data type on the left side of the equal sign. To prevent automatic conversion of values, the developer must insert the option strict on statement in the program prior to any event handler code. If you want to prevent the automatic conversion, then you need to put option strict on. How do you do that? So again, my example is here. So you have to put ahead of the class declaration, you have to put option strict on. That's it. So it will need, everything will require explicit conversion. So to prevent automatic conversion of values, the developer must insert this option strict on statement in the program, and the option strict on statement explicitly prevents any default data type conversions. Okay, so that's how you did it. Now comes the arithmetic operations. There can be different arithmetic operators like plus means addition. You know, I mean, I believe you know plus means addition, minus means subtraction, star means multiplication, this slash means division, this hat sign is the exponentiation. So 2 square, that's how you do exponentiation, hat symbol. Then backslash is the integer division, so that way int result. The mod is the modulus arithmetic, you know, remainder. So 13 mod 5 is basically 3, right? 5 times 2 is 10, and then 3 is the remainder. So that's modulus operator does that calculation. So addition, it's very simple. You do DEC total equals DEC price plus DEC tax, and then you simply get the result as the summation of these two numbers. 110 plus 825 is 118.25. It's that simple. An arithmetic expression that uses the addition operator can contain more than two numeric values. So it can have three numeric values. In addition to variables, arithmetic expression can have literals as well. 10.125. Subtraction is just opposite of the division. I mean, it's a minus. You subtract this one, the second one, from the, you subtract deck cost from deck revenue, DEC revenue. So that's how you define the subtraction. You can use the arithmetic results. The value used in the operation and the resulting answer can be used in the subsequent arithmetic operations for other purposes within the program. I mean, like here we did something in line 67. In line 68, look at the right hand side. We have used the value obtained in line 67, DEC computer cost here, and then we use something different, some other variable. Multiplication is multiplying things. Like here it's simple. I mean, it's you can have two multiplication. I mean, one variable multiplied another variable. You can have three variables. You can theoretically have a lot of variables to be multiplied, 1 2 here, but you can multiply another variable to it. There is no limit. Division is basically, there are two types of division. There is an integer division and there is a decimal division. Decimal division is forward slash, whereas the integer division is the backslash. Remember this one. So the mod operator also, you can see the modulo operator. The exponential is basically hat symbol. You can use it. 2 hat 2 is 4, for example. So you can use the fraction as well in the exponentiation. So you can have multiple operations within the single expression. So hierarchy of the operation, this is important. Exponential is performed first, then you have the multiplication and division performed next, integer division is the next, mod then occurs, addition and subtraction are performed last. Within these 5 steps, calculations are performed left to right. Read this slide very carefully. So how do you display numeric output data? So you have a toString function. So you have a decimal variable. toString function will convert this decimal into the string. But then, I mean, there can be different format. If you use G, toString, and then argument G, it displays the numbers as is. Now if you use C, that's how you display the currencies. So any decimal number, it will be retained until 2 decimal points, and there will be a dollar sign in front of it, and there will be a comma. I mean, it will be formatted like currency. If you do if F is a fixed. If you do N, a number, it displays a number with 1000 separator, 2 digits to the right. I mean, things like that. Percent, so if you do P, then it will be like that. You will add a percent sign. If you do scientific to E, then it's a scientific sign this way. So precision specifier, you can define up to 2 precision, 3 precision. So I mean, currency sometimes specified in the 3 precision numbers. I mean, like gas price, if you see 4.99, and in the top there is another 9 there. And also, I mean, like if you see the stock prices, I mean stock market, that can also be multiple points. So then if 1 is the 1, so you can see it here clearly. what does it say? I mean, number of precisions, you mention the numbers. The clear button, I mean, I'm talking about this one, this clear button here, clear. The clear button event handler must complete the following tasks: clear the text property of the text box object, clear the text property of the label object that displays the total cost, set the focus on total cost object. Showing you an example. So here, if I run the program, so this program was done during the lab session. Its recording is also available. So you put some number 4, let us say, find cost, you got this number 4 multiplied by 9.95 is this one. Now you clear it and you can see this is the function of the clear button. You don't have anything here, and you don't, your number of rental days text box is also gone. I mean, it is also cleared. So that's about it. And then so the clear, it is done by the function called clear. You see, this is the text box name, this is a class label object, and then dot clear. So that's how you do the clear procedure. It's not a function procedure, it's a non-function procedure, it's a non-value returning procedure. So the clear the text property of a label, I mean, it's, you basically set it to blank value, you know. Set the focus. When the focus is on a text box object, the insert point is located in the text box here. So in my case, you could see like this one. Let me bring it again. So let's say we have 5 and then find cost and then clear. You see, this is the focus. This is the focus. On focus is done by there. Here you can enter your number. Okay. Form load event. A form load event occurs when the program starts and Windows form object is loaded for the first time. Whenever you start the form, that's when the form load event occurs. Event handler completes the following tasks: the displaying the cost per day per bike handling, clears the placeholder from the label total control text, and sets the focus on the number of text box. So example is here. So first time you start the program, I'm clicking here start button, and you see this is where it happens. I mean, you see that nothing is there. Total cost, it is, this number is loaded 9.95, and also you can see this text box is cleared with the focus on. That's the function of your um, your form load object. So basically this is the example of form load object that I coded here. So basically you can create it by clicking the form itself, double click the form, and you will create a form loader object, form loader procedure. Is it clear? So concatenation, that's important. Another thing, within the form loader, actually you concatenate your cost level. So how do you do that? So concatenation is done here. You can see clearly you have this number, we defined it here, global constant, it's 9.95 decimal number, and we convert it into currency. So that's how it is $9.95, and then we put an AND symbol. This AND symbol performs string concatenation. Basically this is a string, right? And second one, per day, is also a string, right? And then it is concatenated by the AND symbol. That's how you concatenate two strings. So here this AND is the concatenation symbol. That's what it is done here. 9.95 is the number, then you convert to currency string, then you have the concatenation. So you concatenate two string to produce this one. Okay. When the variable is referenced in two different event handling procedures, it must be defined at the class level instead of procedure level. So here we have defined that variable, this one, as the class level, and we called it a constant actually. Uh, how do you debug your program? A format exception occurs when the user enters data that a statement within the program cannot process properly. So if you for example, let's say you start the program. So here if you put, let us say, a b, then try to find the cost, so you will see unhandled exception has occurred. We have not learned how to do exception handling, so there is some error in the code. So that's where you need to do the debugging. Okay, so in order to debug, basically you have to go to here, and now what you should do, you should like start debugging. So as you start it, you will see something popped up, and then you see here, let's say AB, I put here find cost. So it will point you to the location where it is happening, you see on the screen. So here is the problem, so convert to integer. So then I would like to see what is the number I'm using. So how do you see the number? So see, it is AB, that's what I'm inputting, so this is not correct. So that's how the debug works. Okay, that's how you should debug the program. I'm just quitting this. So this one, and then an overflow exception occurs when the user enters a value greater than the maximum value statement can process. It is not possible to divide by 0. So if your program divide something by 0, then the divide by 0 exception will occur. We will understand the exception handling in a different lecture, but uh, just to let you know about this thing. So the requirement document, it will be like something like beach bike rental. You do the purpose, you do the program procedure statement, then you do the algorithms, you write it here, you write the notes and restrictions and comments, you do the use case definition. So the window classic desktop application appears, so that's the one that happens in the first step. So you can see, I mean, like this use case definition, I will go into detail about the steps in the lab actually. And event planning, so basically you have these buttons, what are the actions desired there. So that's the thing we have done. So you can code the program, which we will be doing in the lab section basically. So that's about this week's presentation. So that is all. I mean, you have to, this week you have to go through this slide. What I recommend, you should do it in this way. You should first read the book, then you listen to the lecture, or you can listen to the lecture, then you read the book, go through the slides for basically make it very brief, and then you should go to the lab. So the lab that I have given, you can do the lab within the first day, during the Monday. So what I'm expecting, before you come to this class, you will read the book. You will not understand certain things, that is understandable, but still you read the book. That way the lecture will be much simpler to you. I don't want you to learn brand new things when you start the lecture. I mean, it can be chicken and egg type of thing, but usually uh, from what I have learned from my own experience, if you read something, then you listen to something, it will be super easy to correlate. Okay, but you do whatever works better for you, of course, but that's my recommendation. And then you should be doing the coding as well. Just listening the lecture is not enough. Listening to lecture or following the videos is not enough. This course is very technical. You have to write some code by yourself. So follow closely the lab session. I took the time to explain every step as I code on the computer. So follow whatever I'm coding. Create the window on your Visual Studio. Open up Visual Studio on your device and follow every step. If something not doesn't work, I mean, scroll back the video and do it over again. But don't give up. In the book also, you have the programming steps written. Try to follow that too if that works for you. So basically, the expectation is within the first 2 days of your week, you should be able to complete reading book, listening to the program, and from and doing the lab exercise, doing the one I provided here. So from Wednesday onwards, you will do your task, I mean homework. And then of course there will be certain things that you don't understand. So that's the process of learning that you are expected to go through. But it's a 8 week course, so expectation is that you have to speed up. The instruction has to be speeded up. The learning will also need to be speed up. So that's my just recommendation. So do reach out to me if you have any problem, and that's about it for this week. Thank you.